We think that there are more diverse development games developed with the advancement of AI, where if you try to steal something from a merchant, you will be brought back or you'll be immediately thrown into jail. We think that the first stage of gaming that created this weird world is wrong, and we think that justice demands that your actions are reparated and you have consequences for whatever act you go. We think this is corruption, and we think this has negative secondary consequences. What is our model? Basically, we think the privilege that this motion is referring to is criminal immunity. You do a bad thing, you're not punished at all. That's what they emphasize it. We think this doesn't mean that no privilege will be provided to the hero. So I'm saying probably the king is hiring and asking this person to fight. So there will be sufficient funding and logistical support associated with it. Also, we think that there will be diplomatic assistance when this person goes abroad or goes into areas that is not in the realm of the king. Also, we think that there will be permission to go into dangerous areas or where other people otherwise would not be able to. And just some reasonable setup. And in some important context, the hero might not win. They can't prove that. The fight might take decades. They can't say it within immediately. There are areas far away from the border of the fight, and the heroes might just burn the houses there. The hero is not guaranteed to be the good guy. You played RPGs, you've become the most vicious criminal warlords and just reset it and tried it later. You cooperated with this demon king and just destroyed humanity. You've done that. There's nothing that shows in opposition that this hero otherwise would. So what do we support? We think that these people should be punished for the crime. We think that they should ask for plea for the contributions they made in the fight. And we think that respective local governments will be able to negotiate that. And also, they might say, well, what are you going to do with the fight? Well, we're fine. You will just jail this person, execute this person if necessary. And what? We'll wait for the next hero. Yeah. Two arguments. Firstly, why does it give excessive privilege and provoke malicious actions? Secondly, how do we change that behavior? So again, the hero is not guaranteed to be good. This hero is assumed to have power, have talent, probably very lucky, has nothing about the characteristic and mindset of a criminal. There are plenty of reasons to believe on a likeness level that the hero would be corrupt, or the surrounding people would be corrupt and the hero is not able to stop that. Simply, the fact that you have immunity to any form of crime means that your discipline would be loose. The facts tell us this happens. PKOs in numerous contexts like Africa and Europe have track records everywhere of mass rape and vandalization. Military occupation in any form has had issues of assault, of violence, of vandalization, again of rape. And we think it's the same thing follows. Why does it happen? The sense that you feel strong makes your feeling of discipline weak. You want to try the things that the privilege or the right that you are given and associated to. You are allured to as a human instinct to the easy and fun way. And especially that is the case because reputation no longer matters for you because you can say, if I don't fight, your humanity is going to die, why should I care about it? And that's a message that they can't tell. Also, even if the hero is good, there are other factors that influence the hero or the collective action of the hero group to behave in that way. Because these heroes have allies. Probably they would have this monk fighter that is aggressive and kind of violent. And these people are part of the immunity group. They would be committing crimes or trying to commit crimes and get away with it. The hero might not be able to stop it, or because they also have to cooperate with gangs necessarily. They have to cooperate with other soldiers necessarily, which might have violent traits. And because they internalize that community, they continue to ask that, hey, even if I punch that guy, I'm not going to be punished. Let's do that. They're stoning us for the fight for what we lost. And that is an accelerated tendency that it might lead to terrible consequences of violence. Sure.
So heroes are not fucking PKO bystanders. They are also under danger. They don't win, they will lose. Why would they have an incentive or capacity to do things outside of warfare for justice on the outside?
Yeah, that's what I'll talk about. But thirdly, before I go on with that, they are tired with the fight. They will be frustrated by condemnation, and they are probably very superpowered, so even with a handshake, they can crush the person's hand with their handshaking. And that means that if there's no barrier for you to not do that, you could, out of that temptation and frustration, the other people are doing it or are asking you to do it. There is so much urge to do that. And the fact that we might not be able to stop that, the point is that their world does not punish that at all. That, as a consequence of that, is vandalization, assault, rape, and many kinds of things done by the colleagues of heroes or heroes themselves on people who might not get the fruits of the victory, because a hero might not win, the last fight might last after you die. The village that the hero is in right now might be far away from the border of the fight, and that is unacceptable. But secondly, we think that it's very likely for profit motives that we associate with criminal organization, because criminal organizations would get a lot of benefit from the immunity that heroes have. So the best case scenario we propose is that this hero creates an immunity city that is associated with a criminal organization and just get whatever, sell drugs, sell weapons, and get out and use an immunity. And they'll just fight as opposed to go to the border once a month and do the easiest fight and come back and prove that they're okay, but immunity is there and they can't cover. That is the safest strategy, that's the most profitable strategy, and they can't get away with that. I never seem crazy, but it is a crazy motion anyway. Border, and the issue is border protection, because these soldiers need to fight along with the heroes. But this young, talented guy, you have no idea what this person is, or you don't even know if it's really talented, but I think it's saying he's awesome. You can't trust it if there's no governance on the hero. That is why the necessary cooperation and the trust, the zeal, the morale needed for the soldier to fight with the soldier is lost on their side of the house. My partner will elaborate. And the worst case is, this happens, the people will be angry. At the king, there will be riots, there will be protests, and there will be unnecessary animosity and lives taken, poverty, because riots and opposition to refuse the king leads to that. That's inevitable, because the only way to change this immunity is topple the king, because the king is asking for it. And there's no way you can fight against people. The people's only option is to say, hey, fuck you, king, stop this immunity. And that's why, because it causes riots, because it causes violence, because it stops border control that is necessary to fight for the sake of the world, it is terrible. It's only when you provide discipline, we might not be able to stop it, but at least we give justice, we give deterrence, and wait for a hero that hopefully is decent.
Minister, for your wonderful speech. I'd like to call on leader of the session to open up the opposite case with the 10 minutes here.
Can I be heard? Okay. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. There are 3 reasons why we have to win this debate. Firstly, as a boss of Masde, we have to avenge against the enemy of Masde at the semi-final. Second, I'm Masao, I have to be Zettai Masao Koro spot at the grand final. And lastly, most importantly, I'm hero. I have to say this. That's why we oppose this. And the most important thing is that existence and the rampant act of demon king itself is an imminent threat to the human beings as a whole. Existence brings constant insecurity, and the rampant activity by the monsters allows them to abduct innocent children, or bring turmoil, or actually destroy fields and crops. This is an imminent threat to the people's lives. That's why, as soon as possible, we have to solve these situations, and even slight increase or possibility of losing this fight is detrimental. That's why we have to give privilege in order for them to go to the smooth journey to beat them. 3 issues. Firstly, why it's basically just to give privilege to this hero. Second, why privilege is practically necessary to increase possibility of beating Demon King. Lastly, given the incentive structure and the heroes and party as a whole, why it's unlikely that they will recklessly break into innocent civilian houses and steal every single item they have. And all remarks are obviously integrated into those things. Firstly, principles. There are 2 specific reasons why this motion should be, privilege should start. Firstly, like tax and duty as a nation, or like conscription in emergent cases, it's national mandate to resolve this situation, obviously. Here, usual legislative like legal framework of morality doesn't apply. Because millions of people are currently dying on a constant daily basis, then we have to solve the root cause of this situation. Here it is demon king. Then, even if some people's properties or assets are being deprived, we as a state can reimburse and repay after the issues are resolved. Then only the temporal harm is the thing that they are sticking to. We don't think that is that much morally significant thing. Second thing is that we have to restore inborn burden. From birth, you are obliged and you are said, oh, you are blessed, happy, you are a hero. You have to go to journey. Oh, you want to be a musician, you want to play Splatoon? No, don't care. You have to go to journey and beat Demon King. This mandate inevitably imposed onto the shoulder of individuals. We think this itself is unjust. However, simultaneously, we have to continue this journey. Thus, the maximum thing states should do is to give privilege in order to decrease burden, decrease any barrier which heroes may face within among this journey. That's what we think for these reasons, this motion and privilege is principally required for heroes. Yes.
You said these people will be blessed and expected and will be a good guy. How did this work in reality with many kings in the past who were blessed and expected to be good, but you know what happened?
Obviously, so first, kings are democratically chosen, and obviously, unfortunately, citizens are split in equal cases. Second, in many RPG games, heroes from birth are brainwashed by the god to be hero. That's why even from mind, they don't have any choices to go against this decision. I won't explain other incentive structures in the last point. So why privilege is practically necessary? So as I told you, their journey is extremely tough. That's why we have to decrease barrier. First, so we have to think about who are rejecting their cooperation towards heroes, and why. Many people are egoistic or apathetic, even given the current evident threat brought by Demon King. They just think, some people think that, oh, someone other than me can cooperate to the heroes, that's why I don't have to give any of my assets, I don't have to give up any money to them. Or they just think, their life itself is not given the evident threat. For the precise reason of their privilege, they have enough money to hire one of the top tier guardians and soldiers to protect their houses and their lives. Or they actually keep gaining benefits throughout the market, such as selling weapons, like Metacom's said, which is already happening by the hand of privileged individuals living inside the castles, for example, certain towns. Then, why it's important for sometimes for heroes to neglect their consent and rights by including their houses, including their territories, and depriving their assets. Note, if you have played RPG, it's obvious that heroes have many duties and missions, such as collecting random stone plates, which exist everywhere around the world, or you have to collect 5 legendary weapons and rich items, which is necessary to enter to the Demon King's castle. Then, sometimes those privileged individuals, or it's rather likely those privileged individuals, have actually historically culturally important assets, or they own those territories, such as those caves or those tunnels. Then, since those privileged individuals, their lives are not threatened by the Demon King, or they just think they don't understand the importance of giving up those random stone plates, or some Tenku no Kabuto, for example, then they don't cooperate to that. Or, because even if they have some incentive to cooperate, since this is an urgent situation, we don't want to waste time by negotiation and being asked some favor to be withdrawn, for example. That's why, as soon as possible, we need to get those assets, as soon as possible, we need to break into those territories. In the worst case, if some rich people like Rudoban is really egoistic, they are arrested because they call police, like Mizukami-san said. Then obviously hero is jailed for decades. Then while that they cannot do anything, monsters can get increased momentum. Then many people are abducted, children are massacred on the ground. We think it's quite problematic. Even in the worst case, maybe hero and their parties will do bad things. They have still human moralities. Monsters don't have. This is a comparative. Then we think at least some massacre or brutal things done by human hands is least better than done by monsters. Lastly, incentive structures of heroes and why they don't recklessly break into people's houses and territories. Because firstly, there are 4 structural reasons why even with privilege they don't do that. Firstly, in many cases they have many alternatives to beat monsters to get money to buy weapons, for example. Second, obviously they don't take risk, losing respect and the cooperation from citizens. For all the reasons I said, cooperation from citizens is necessary and respect is necessary. That's why they don't take those huge risks to lose those things. And lastly, they have huge pride as a hero. Then they don't do those kind of bad things. Other like also human beings, they have decent level of morality. They don't like massacre innocent children on the ground, obviously. Then even if hero is stupid, they have to stop it. Then we think it's not that they will recklessly do bad things. That's why we oppose.
And so, leader opposition for your wonderful speech. I'd like to call upon Deputy Prime Minister from Side Government to extend your case within 7 minutes. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the hero team going to definitely defeat the Masao, such a terrible demon. Right? And the point we want to note is that we don't have any privileges for the sake of defeating the Masao, right? Omura-san didn't read the motion to us, or judges didn't prefer our team, or that Eno-san didn't abuse his rights as equity officer, right? But still, we are sure that we are going to defeat the Masao. The points that we want to say, or we want to emphasize, is the great purpose doesn't require special privileges or justify these kind of things. And we believe the hero should defeat the demon without the criminal action like us. So I think that this motion must stand. I want to talk about 3 things in my speech. First of all, the incentive of the hero to defeat the demon anyway it exists on outside the house. Secondly, secondly is the what is the likely scenario given the environment surrounding that kind of hero. Lastly, the capacity to defeat. Why outside the house can have more possibility to defeat that demon. But before that extraneous battle to the demon Masao, the first thing he said is he tried to mitigate the damage on the other side of the house to the innocent citizen by saying temporary harm, as if the hero can immediately defeat the demon and peace will come. Is going to come. I can't believe that saying, right? Because I cannot count how many times I repeat the save and load and the countless time of loss and the new game is waiting. I think that defeating the demon take a lot of time, and as my partner already outlined, maybe the decades years is sometimes required. I think that is no longer immediate damages to begin with, right? And also they said that they recklessly conduct a criminal action, things like that. We don't think so, right? Because they are continuously fighting with a very strong monster, and they are revealed to the massive stress, physical and the mental stresses, and also given the privileges, they don't have any punishment upon it. In that case, I think having more money was important or things like that. That kind of execution is very easy, and that kind of situation allow the hero to recklessly criminal action. That's why we think that's the point. Go.
So you said the hero does not need any privilege, but you are currently innocent. Did you just join our team?
I didn't join the team of you. So I will explain about this point in my speech. So firstly about the incentive hero, because they seem to misunderstand that under our side house, hero have less incentive to battle with the demon, things like that. But of course that is not true for 2 reasons. Because notice, as Masao said, the existence of demon is imminent threat, and this is same for hero as well. If they don't do anything as hero, of course they will be endangered by the other monster or demon. So anyway, even if without privileges, hero have a same amount of incentive to defeat the hero on outside the house as well. But secondly, without that special privileges, strong incentive to attract the hero exists. For example, if they succeed in defeating the kind of demon or demon, maybe they can get a lot of the reward from the king, or maybe they can get the fame and respect by society. Maybe he can play an important role after peace has come. So I think that even in order to incentivize the hero to defeat the demon, I think the privileges is not required to begin with. That's why we think the incentive still continue to exist on our side of the house. right? Given that, I want to talk about what is the likely scenario on their side of the house, because the exclusive difference on their side is that they will explicitly giving their privileges giving the privileges to the hero. We believe that that kind of explicit arrangement of crime action leads the moral hazard for the hero. I have two analysis about that. Firstly, the hero's disposition and environment, right? As my partner always said, the heroes are very talented, and I think that these people is underlooked other people. It's going to likely to underlook other people or try to have disposition to abuse that kind of things. But moreover, as I already said, he continuously revealed to the very harsh battle with the monster. Maybe he will get used to a cruelty or atrocity or things like that, and continuously accumulates the physical and the psychological stress. In that cases, we think that these kind of people likely to abuse that kind of the privileges. They think that depriving the money out of their citizens is justifiable because I just killed the monster, things like that. But secondly, and most important analysis in my speech is that don't forget, in vast majority of cases, the world of RPG have casino, right? Here's a clear example. Dayusha Pecora was addicted to casino, and what she have done was to intrude innocent citizens and steal the money and waste all the money to gamble. Right? You think that situation likely to happen? That actually happened. Like this is right? No one can deny that possibility to be addicted to the gambling. So I think that allowing that kind, that privileges should not be justified. But on our side of the house, we can prevent that kind of problematic situation from happening because we can set a safety net for that kind of mental bar on the hero, right? Even if the hero want to do a casino, maybe he will think, oh, but if I steal the money, maybe I will be arrested. Maybe he would try to find the other way to earn money. For example, sell having the weak sword or things like that. I think that kind of well-organized hero team can be done on our side of the house. Lastly, I want to talk about the capacity to defeat the demon. Right? I have two persons in this part. Firstly, hero's party, right? Because as I already said, maybe the incentive of the hero will not different on the both sides of the house. But what we want to say is that also capacity as hero team is not that different. Because even if they don't have a privilege, maybe innocent citizens voluntarily cooperate with that hero team. Because without doing that, maybe the possibility to win the demo will be lower. So I think that supportive money, supportive material can exist voluntarily even on our side of the house. But more importantly, we think the crucial difference on our side of the house is that so-called mobukara or the guardian or standing army and border exists. And we think that from this perspective, our side is much better. Why? Because if hero abuse this kind of the privileges and right as I already outlined, maybe that kind of supportive member lose the incentive to actively collaborate or cooperate with that kind of things. We think that is crucially problematic because their cooperation is important when hero are dispatched to the far places or far area. These guardians or standing army have to protect the innocent citizen from the monster. So I think that having that moralization or that strong will to protect the citizen of the guardian and standing army other than the hero party is also important. And from that perspective, hero's privileges is very obstacle. For that reason, I'm going to definitely be Sama-sama.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your speech. I'd like to call on Deputy Roberts to extend the opposition case against here.
First of all, why unforeseen possibility of riot unlikely to occur or as government to say. So Scandinavian white privilege, the function for the quick result, so on all sides of the house. So all values will be raised. So first of all, why unforeseen is unlikely to occur on their side. So the government says that 30 occur. So possibility for riot, or it can be delayed that process for the proceeding journey, etc. I think it's unlikely. So government policy is predicated on the necessity to stop hero wrongdoing, hero action. So first of all, I think it's unlikely. So even with a privilege, it is unlikely for hero to do problematic action for terrorism. So for example, actively depriving money from the poor, or the weapon trade, etc. unlikely. So first of all, let's revert to the government. What does government say? So government says that to raise the example, for example, like cooperating with a soldier or gang in order to weapon trade or rape or killing the general public, etc. I think it's unlikely to overcome terrorism. First of all, it is just a waste of time, right? Because they have to ask the cooperation to other gangs in order to trade the weapon, for example. So instead of that, it is more far more feasible to, for example, using the privilege and deprive certain more powerful weapon or certain resources in order to level up the weapon from the leaders of the village or mayor, for example, this kind of powerful actor, right? But secondly, I think killing or rape unlikely to occur because the reason why the actual in the reality world, the soldiers are unfortunately sometimes do the raping or killing the general public if they are accustomed to the situation, right? They are accustomed to killing someone in reality in the workplace, right? But I think even unlikely to kill people, they just kill more, right? So that's why I think this problem with action is to this degree unlikely to occur. There are additional multiple reasons why this wrongdoing unlikely to occur. Three reasons. First of all, I think he'll have more incentive to do bad things, especially to the vulnerable actor, right? For example, actively like stealing money because they say that they want to like they hope that money as much as possible. But I think it's unlikely for two reasons. First of all, they're like poor actor or vulnerable actor unlikely to have the vulnerable youth sources, right? Well, because they are poor, for like suffer from paying tax to the mayor, for example, they have just 100 gold. It is not enough to buy more strong weapon, right? But secondly, instead of depriving the citizens from general public, they can get resources from more privileged people, leader or villages or mayor, etc. for likely to have more resources. I think it's more far more efficient way, which means that there is no necessity to offend the poorest people because it's sufficient to get 10,000 gold from the mayor. So I think there is no necessity to actively deprive the additional money from the poor in order to like merge the mayor or 10 gold or 100 gold, right? The second reason why it's unlikely is that the government says that they are stressed, they feel stressed, they are frustrated, even if it's true initially, but they use the incentive to be batching for free. First of all, I think it's not from the perspective of player, right? So the hero can hero can understand the reaction of victim, right? For example, because it's crying, so in order to they feel the fear of being killed or depriving money, for example, they are shouting, for example, help me or stop, for example, right? I think it is quite intuitive enough for them to be psychological stopper, right? But secondly, so they recognize themselves as a hero, right? The government says that under the world, without law, historical leader did anything, etc. It is a difference. So hero are educated as a hero, right? For example, from children, they are taught you help the people, you save the country in the future. So they are the hero. So they internalize the concept of justice is like important necessity to doing good things to citizens, right? Which means that government friends, for example, they think themselves as a strong actors who can do anything. For example, I think it's unlikely to be true. So lastly, hero can understand riot is quite possible to proceed the journey, right? Then I think it is reasonable to say that they are more care about the reaction of the general public in order to they try to see that they get to work as much as possible. The last reason why wrongdoing unlikely to occur is that even if hero is fucking personality, even if hero try to do so, but associate stop, right? Because I think it's likely because mainly associate is the people who voluntarily want to be party member, right? Meaning that they are more relatively likely to have incentive to good people to more like same country, which means that they are more having more much incentive to prohibit the hero from wrongdoing because they can easily see that it can be obstacle to the journey. That's why necessity to stop the hero wrongdoing is premise for the riot, premise for the obstacle, coming from government bench, unlikely to stop.
So because of the immunity, they can vandalize normal people's houses, but also vandalize privileged people's houses or media or people like Masao's houses. Why do you think that it would be stopped by this proposal?
Okay, so I understand it. But anyway, the majority of citizens cannot be the victim of hero wrongdoing. So secondly, but even if certain anti-fascist, for example, anyway, the target leader or mayor's houses can be targeted because they have the matter. But even if this kind of actor have the anti-fascist, why impact is so small? So first of all, I think on that occasion, I think people who likely to feel anti-fascist is quite limited actor, right? For example, people with higher experience, leader of village or mayor, etc. Right? On that occasion, impact is so small. So first of all, even if they feel anti-fascist, the majority of citizens is unlikely to support that like backlash coming from this leader, right? Because majority of cities literally want to stop the like fear of the demon. I think it is more likely because compared to this previous leader, this general public, the degree, the extent of the feeling fear urgency is quite applicable to general public, which means that even if certain leader try to do wrongdoing, but majority of citizens are also the additional hero associated can stop, can minimize this impact. That's why even if right can occur, but these are where impact is for the then secondly, so necessity. What privilege function for the people that with closure there are some people who disincentive to voluntarily cooperate with the hero, especially the privilege we are talking about, who are likely to have much more, have a much better, right? So because the extent of the feeling fear is quite difficult because these kind of privilege, they are, for example, protected in the castle, or they can employ the monster in order to protect themselves, right? That's right. So without privilege, they are likely to reject that. So that's why I think it's counterproductive because on that occasion, so hero has to ask help. To the poor, to the vulnerable, because anyway leader is likely to reject, and the negotiating leader, compared to negotiating leader and using the, rather than negotiating with the leader, but negotiating with junior public with using fear can be easier. That's why that's counterproductive. But second problem is that I think they also delay the process for the gaining a quick result, right? Because on their side of the house, they have to negotiate every house in order to check and get resources, and they have to conversation. And if the house inhabitant is not there, they have to wait that this inhabitant to get back to their home, right? But also in order to, for example, going to other areas, they have to wait that, for example, passport or something, and the admission can be published, for example. I think it's so time taking, and considering that the partner enterprises in industry, I think it's very counterproductive.
In order for opposition to justify the principle of the end justified means, they have to prove either that this leads to definite victory, or at least they have to prove this immunity materially increase the likelihood of victory compared to the other alternatives. Here's the problem, because they didn't really explain how this immunity actually creates a more fundamental support, what kind of capability to fight against them compared to the other alternatives such as money and political support from the government, maybe a lot of the donation from the rich people who obviously have the incentive to do so for save their own lives or etc. We think that their benefit at best quite marginal, and also the considering the possibility of rely to rather antipathy and distrust from the general public, they cannot prove why this is likely to lead a victory. We think considering that this immunity just creates more victims on the ground, therefore we dare to propose. So firstly, why immunity is bad. So we already told you sufficiently the emotional condition of the heroes, right? Heroes are not good fighters, especially in the condition of the extreme situation where they are fighting against them. They are on the verge of death in some instances, or they are exposed to the constant fear of being attacked by ambushes in taking a rest, etc. In that kind of circumstances, they are emotionally distressed, or they want some sort of rest, or they want some sort of desire to enjoy something which they cannot do so. So we think in this situation, it's likely that this immunity gives the privilege to get a much more money, not for uses for the fight, or rather for their own maybe enjoyment, alcohol, gambling, I don't know. So we think it's quite problematic. Now, these are challenges our case for in many ways. But firstly, so no matter how they challenge the extent of abuse, they have to accept there's immunity and there's a possibility that property being deprived, and this is going to happen, right? We think even if this is going to be used appropriately, this means that the deprivation of the actual tangible property, and probably when it comes to the fight against demon, probably it takes a lot of money, or it needs something a lot of material, etc. So firstly, even considering all of the analysis from DLO, they cannot deny the problem itself, but other engage each analysis.
Now, firstly, they said that this is going to be a waste of time for the fight against demo, so they are rational enough to, that spend all the time and all the energy to fight against demo. Once again, they really engage the mindset and the emotional situation of the hero in the first place. They are not perfect, right? They are human. When they are exhausted and they need emotional instinct to enjoy something like the enjoyable, they cannot constantly prioritize the fighting against demo. So I don't think that this heroes are so perfect and emotionally strong enough to continue and only to thinking about the fighting against unrelated demo. And then they said that heroes are prioritizing getting money and property from rich people, not poor people, right? Again, this depends on the assumption that heroes are benevolent people, right? Heroes have the incentive to cater to the lives of poor or lives of the middle class people, etc. Once again, they do not engage the characterization of a hero, and also probably it takes some sort of time to pick and choose the house of the rich people, right? But probably that heroes do not take that much time to search and which houses look like the rich houses that they can afford the money, etc. Right? They are probably randomly intruding into the houses and getting property. This is easiest way to get money. So I don't think this is benevolent enough. And furthermore, the fact that and third reason why they will say that this riot, etc., is unlikely to happen is that the student believes that hero, the student because unless the hero fight back against the demons, this leads to the disaster and loss of the entire human society. Now, the premise of this analysis is that general public still believes that hero will continue to fight. But the thing is that we are talking about distrust, right? The general public starts to have the conception that maybe hero is not making sufficient enough effort, or they spend enough time to fight back against demo. Maybe they are just taking rest or just enjoying and they are actually neglecting their duty. That kind of notion of the disrespect is going to happen. That's the cause of the riot, that's the cause of the distrust, and this is hugely problematic in two ways. Firstly, that as Prime Minister already said, that this leads to riot, that kind of chaotic situation, is simply the loss of the opportunity and the resources, and this is actually ruining the capability of the society to fight back against demon. But secondly, this leads to the less capability to support to the hero groups, etc. Right? Because even heroes cannot fight against the demon alone. Right? They need some sort of political support, maybe the cars and horses that allows heroes to move away, or maybe they need some sort of resources, food, waters, or perhaps these kind of border control patrols that defend students from weak and mid tiers monster, I don't know. So we think that kind of actual support, not only comes from monetary sense, but also the political sense is quite vital to fight against the demo as a society. We think that kind of function is hugely undermined when students are going to think that hero is not reliable, hero is not fighting, and they cannot have a hope that hero will defeat the demo. So we think it's hugely problematic.
If hero is very terrible alcoholic like Honda, don't you think Honda will anyway do bad things irrespective of the existence of village? Because other hero you have strong weapon to beat such as cops or violence.
Is there no difference between paradigms? We have to assume that this society has the capability to arrest and punish this hero, right? Unless we cannot debate in the first place. So why privilege is necessary? So we already preempted that one financial and political support by the government is possible. If hero needs some sort of special weapon of the sword, then probably this human leader or king order this to the society to hand that kind of weapon sword to the hero so that they are able to defend their society. And also that they themselves admitted that this loss of the human society by the demon is a huge interest. And so therefore the rich individual have the incentive to donate voluntarily to the hero if necessary, because the loss of the human society means the loss of the privilege, asset, everything. So so we don't really understand to what extent that this immunity gives the ability to fight against demon, right? They said they lose allies without immunity. What kind of allies they are talking about? These allies probably a criminal action or insist on the abusive mentality of the brutalized people. I don't know why these are good allies. overall, this immunity should be abolished.
Government with your city sites off on opposite to make your marks within 7 minutes. Here.
Welcome to our Dragon Quest. It's our recommended game, but I don't fucking recommend this game to you in this case. Why? Because it's fucking boring. You press the start button, you're in an old village. You will go to the shop, you buy everything in the shop. 99 yakso, 99 seisui, 99 fushigi ramen, you're level 100. And then you go to an old wise man, you get the full map of the fucking world, you use Buddha, you go to the castle, you enter the fucking castle, you beat the demon. Everything ends in 2 fucking days, no fucking stress. That is our version of Dragon Quest. That is why we guarantee that successful beating of the Demon King on the outside of the house. Under the government world, heroes might have the incentive to do well, but what about the capacity? And that's the game that we have, that's the put that we are making in this debate. Because if you do not have the best weapon, and you lose to the Demon King, everything is over. It's not a fucking game. There are lived people in this world. If you don't beat the Demon King as soon as possible, literally every day, people are raped by monsters. People are losing their mind, brainwashed because of the fucking Demon King and the magical powers of the Demon King. They say we have to guarantee success on the other ones. No. Because on the other, even a slight increase in the chance of success is the greatest benefit in this debate. Because on their world, if they have more chance of losing, and if you do lose, every fucking thing is over. You're enslaved for the rest of your life. The whole generation of humanity is enslaved for the next 200 years or perhaps even more. That's why increased success is the best thing that we can guarantee on our house, and that's why we clearly win this debate. Firstly, I want to talk about the necessity of privilege. Because this thing says cooperation exists, and that's why you can still succeed to a large extent on the best of this. Yes, this is true to some extent. But think of these things. Firstly, not everyone will cooperate with you. Why? Because there's some collective action problem. I own shop. I have a lot of equipment in my shop. I am the one that hero comes, and the hero comes to your shop, and I have to give everything. What about the fucking neighbor? I feel like I'm losing something. Go to the next shop. Go to the next village. Not my village. Please ask someone else. For example, privileged people that live in castles with fucking guards, they don't feel the threat of monsters in the same way the average people are feeling on the ground. So to them, there's no sense of urgency maybe. They don't want to cooperate. And some people will ask you for return, like, would you do this favor? No, you have to clear this quest first, and then I will do what you want me to do. All of these things may be small possibility, but what if these people have the key to entrance, to enter the door of the castle? What if these people have the secret way in which you could use magical powers that allows you to beat the demon? Maybe, like, so for example, if I go to Kondo Nagoya, and then I try to open one of his drawers and he has some secret mangas in it, you'll be like, no, this place, no, you cannot see this place. That's something that will definitely happen on the desert of us. All of these things will be skipped and bypassed on outside of house, so you get instant access to secrets of Hondu in this case. Secondly, even if there's some cooperation, it takes time. Why? Because if you go to a house and there's no one at the house, he's on a trip, you have to wait 3 fucking days. And during those 3 fucking days, you have so many people suffering on the ground. If you go to the door and talk to the person, and the person is just hard-minded idiot, and you have to convince him, it takes 2 hours to negotiate. During those 2 hours, many people are suffering. This is again, it's not quite a small possibility. Like, a lot of people are like stupid and idiots like that in society. And that is the possibility that they must depend on themselves. In the meantime, a lot of suffering exists. So that's something that we can deal with on the outside of the house as well. And that's why we increase the chances of success, or the speed at which success is achieved on the outside of the house. Then the question is, how would the hero fight? Because this team claims that heroes might be bad. Firstly, they say people play games stupidly, you burn the village, many people die, genocide. No, thank you. But this misses the point, because this is a simulation. You are the player controlling the hero. This is not the case in this debate, because you are the fucking hero, and you have to decide for yourself. Like, you have to think of how the hero would act in this case, not how the player would want the hero to act in the case of RPG. So maybe casino, but that's the imagination of a fucking game developer. That doesn't exist on something else because it's so much. Their case is that, well, heroes might not be good. We have two responses. First, you're self-conscious because you're told you're the offspring of Loto, and you are the only person that could save the fucking world. You know that to be true, you have the responsibility. That's what you've been told for the longest amount of time. Secondly, it's just not a good feeling to do bad things because you're not a character, you're a fucking human being. You know that someone is being hurt if you burn the villages. You can hear the voices of people dying. You don't want to do that in any case in the first place. And then there claims that because you're powerful, because you're immune, you will do anything because you don't have to face consequences. Couple of responses. Firstly, there's a lot of consequences to yourself. Why? Because you will fucking die if you don't beat the Demon King as soon as possible as well. Like, obviously, you wouldn't have the time or capacity to do things like raping if it is the case that you are always under threat as well. Notice that most atrocities are committed by, for example, militaries that are in a better position. Not a fucking victim or vulnerable military groups would do that in the first place. Or they're done by subgroups of military who cannot be controlled by the generals. None of those things would exist if the party only consists of 5 people, and these 5 people are in a relatively disprivileged position compared to the Demon King. That's why this doesn't happen. But secondly, and before I move on this,
If hero would never conduct wrongdoing, that privilege is not necessary. You should just join our team.
I mean, like, I can join your team and beat Masao, but that's for, what's the next tournament? We can do that. Yes, but secondly, there are also consequences to people you care about. Like, even if you're good enough, even if you're strong enough, there are family members, there are people of your villages suffering in the end. That's why you have an incentive to do things as quickly as possible as well. What does this mean? This means you do things that are necessary, and only things that are necessary, because you don't fucking have the time to do things otherwise. For example, you wouldn't vandalize a poor person's house, you won't take away gold from them, because you know that that's not going to add much to your chances of success. You will instead go to the richest man in the village and do these things. That's why this person is unlikely to behave badly in the first place. But even if this is not true, even if there are some wrongdoings, that's still okay. Because as we told you, like, the harms of being vandalized, it's just minor in scale compared to fucking genocide, compared to being raped by monsters. That's like the worst nightmare you can imagine in the first place. But secondly, like, removing criminal responsibility is not removing the possibility of reparation and compensation into the future. This means that you're still able to do post-war reparation, not necessarily punishing this hero, but for example, the king could provide money to people that contributed to the beating of the Demon King. That's why this harm is inherently minor. We have to save the world as soon as possible. This might look like a bad RPG, maybe it's R18, but that's the reality that we want.
Let's talk about the opposition replies to it, and their debate within 4 minutes.
Disclaimer before my speech. My speech may contain some netabare. What's the English word for netabare? Spoilers for Final Fantasy X. That's not so crucial for the story. Maybe. I don't know. Why the fuck there's machinery in the shrine? Why don't they follow religious doctrines? Because the shrines are benefited from the existence of the shin, and the world constructed around the existence of the shin. We told you that some individuals, or some especially privileged individuals who have benefited out of the existence of Demon King, actually don't cooperate again with heroes, thus giving immunity to bypass their cooperation and negotiation is the only smooth way to beat Demon King. That's the point they haven't touched at all. 3 issues. Firstly, heroes doing bad things. Second, principle lasting possibility for winning. Firstly, heroes doing bad things. First of all, this is most important framing here, is that whatever heroes do, casino, black market, like paku shop, as long as it increases possibility of winning Demon King, we are fine. It's consistent with our principle. Then the question is whether actually heroes will do things which don't contribute to beating Demon King.
casino, okay, maybe they can get Metal King sword if they get jackpot at slot. Or maybe they will go to Pafupan shop because they're the official prostitutes for heroes, but they don't rate random pedestrians on the street. They have proven actually the decrease of morality or the giving stress leads to unnecessarily bad act which doesn't contribute anything to beating Demon King. Because they have already agreed that in both parallel heroes have active incentive to contribute to beat Demon King. Then this concession makes us believe that maybe they will do bad things, but at least it contributes to relieve stress, increasing possibility of getting green card Muji, for example. We think it's extremely beneficial for heroes' journeys. Even if they are horrible, what they haven't proven to us is why giving criminal punishment can prevent those bad acts. That's the point I have pointed out to Eno-san. Because presumably, we all agree, hero is the most important existence in the world, and kings, human society in general, have incentive to cooperate. Then, why the fuck kings won't give the strongest weapon to the hero, instead keep that strongest weapon to the hands of armies or policies who doesn't actually kill Demon King? Obviously, if they're the strongest sword, it will be in the hands of heroes who can beat militaries or policies, whatever whoever being sent to capture heroes. Then, if their characterization is true, nothing is exclusive, they haven't proven the efficacy of criminal punishment. Thus, it's reasonable for us to believe in the characterization provided by punishment. But anyway, principles. They're like kind of cookie cutter rebuttal. Is all principle is consequential? Obviously not. If principle of nation's duty to contribute state security is consequential, we have to punish losing country over the war for not doing well. Like physically weak elderlies cannot counter against offenders because anyway it won't increase possibility of winning. We think it's ridiculous and extremely unintuitive. Which means, and moreover, they didn't prove reasons why it's not just. We told you 2 reasons. Situationally, it's nation's duty. Moreover, we need to reparate to the unfortunate story and unfortunate fate of hero individuals. Yuna wants to spend usual life as a just anonymous girl, but since random fate decided Yuna is born to be the offspring of Yuna, the unfortunate name, and she has to go to the journey to meet Shin. Then we think we have to reparate to the loss of agency to those individuals. Now rebuttals are provided by our page. Lastly, possibility of meaning. We specified what kind of bad doing is necessary. Getting random stone plates which maybe exist in Nagoya Kondo's secret places, or one legendary sword, which is obviously necessary to kill Demon King, which those like privileged in some random country don't give to the kinds of heroes. This is more important than the random general support from citizens which they defend. That's why we increase possibility of winning. Thanks.
I'm a boring person, so I'll just do this debate stuff. Firstly, what was their harm? Was it impactful? Secondly, would the hero behave? Thirdly, which is likely to win the war? I think it's a wash. So, what is the harm? They said a bit about they won't fight, but that was an assertion, and their logics about education, responsibility, etc. applied to at least fight, but we refuse the fact that they would fight in a very responsible way. So that wasn't really important. Most of the substantive about logistical issues. I need that sword, but I can't, or I need the cooperation from someone, or Kondu's a really special guy and he won't help. That's what we said in our setup. If the king believes that it's needed, they would demand it. The hero, which is a subcontractor of Kingdom A, will be provided with the necessary equipment for the duties that is going to be done. So to the extent that this region is under the provision or the local government of this kingdom, they can demand the local government to give up that legendary stone or whatever. I haven't said right. So that really wasn't really substantial. We rather tell you that you would have donations anyway. If you're nice, that's when people voluntarily support you. So at least that was not a really big substantive. People cooperate on their side. They said they would because they would need to, and that's it. It wasn't a really positive matter that they would cooperate. The thing is, as we told you, you don't like this guy. You can't trust this guy. He's got immunity. You have no idea what this guy is, or he might be, going into the house randomly, and that's scary. That's when, even if you need to, you don't want to, and that's when you don't cooperate. People voted for Brexit. People voted for Trump, not because of good consequences, because they wanted to say fuck you, same thing. And that was when you not really responded to or overriding the character. So okay, they had a lot of nice stories, like substantive, I like their speech, but we need to talk about impacts. I'm sorry, I'm a boring person, and they didn't have it. Heroes behave. So what they said is, you would have education, there would be some godless responsibility endowed on this hero, or this, it's a waste of time to fight with people. Sure, but why does that mean that this person is a good guy? All this applies to elites in our world, and we know they might and have committed crime. So there are plenty of reasons they would be corrupt. They're alert to privilege, the fatigue and stress in the fight, the pressure from your colleagues and allies that are likely to be a violent trait. Even if your hero is good, your allies that are violent, your vicious monk fighter, I don't know, or your mercenaries that you're hiring for a purpose might commit violence under your name with immunity comes in place. So regardless of the hero being good, which we think is bad, is there are consequences of people vandalizing, and these people might not, or most likely do not get the fruits of the victory, because the fight will continue for 30 years and eventually might not win. But let's assume that hero is so strong you can't stop this, that's their last defense. If nothing changes, at least we provide the justice, because it's just a principle that, if the bad things are done, we should punish this guy. And if nothing changes, at least we make it principally right. But ultimately, on victory, again, I think the point is about cooperation. And we told you that soldiers, people won't cooperate, which means that the necessary operations, when this hero's going out in a dark cave or something, you need to protect your own castle. Or it's a very large battle with 500,000 demons and soldiers involved. Everyone has to cooperate and really it's the highest morale to resist it. But if you don't trust the hero, you're more likely to lose, and that's a huge risk. And that's inevitable in this side of the house. They want to say again that they need to, but it's about emotion, and that you can just go in and get the equipment that they need. Let's give a good story. PKOs step into people's house, go into the wardrobe and try to get a thing. People aren't NPCs. They refuse and say no. You know what happens? They're shot in the head. They're hit in their face and silenced, and they might not be able to recover from that. That's the reality, the realistic procedure that happens with the hero going in, and disasters that we portray as a reality we know is happening in the current world. That's why speed, maybe, but that procedure of it is violence, it's dismay, and no cooperation and loss. One debate. Let's go.